Hmm. Share Mangalachan. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Welcome you all, and let's chant this the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam नष्टप्रायस्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्ग्रहे ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Welcome you all on our ongoing discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. Thanks for joining. And today we will be continuing from Canto 6 onwards. We have discussed till chapter 13. Yeah. Just 1 second. Yes. No, we'll start from 13 today. So we have seen as in last week how Indra, Lord Indra, the king of heaven, uh, disrespected Brihaspati, his guru, and then he killed uh, his second guru, you can say, and then at the end he killed Vitrashura. So Vishwarupa's father, he did a fire sacrifice, and then he invited a demon called as Vitrashur, and Vitrashur were actually meant to kill Indra, but somehow or other by chanting in a pronunciation was a bit here and there, and he became to be a very devoted of Lord Vishnu, and he was killed by Indra rather than being killing Indra. So we've seen how Vitrasur, though he was in a body of demon, but he was completely surrendered to Lord Krishna. He was meditating on Krishna, and he was inspiring, or he was actually pushing Indra to please kill me, and do not doubt the weapon you have got from Lord Vishnu. So, and I am fully situated on my consciousness. I'm remembering Krishna very well. So please kill me. And devotee explains here that who does win after this fight? Does Indra wins or does Vitrasur wins? Actually, if you see from outer perspective, Indra wins because he regains his own kingdom. But internally or eternally, Vitrasur wins because he go back to Godhead. He go back to Vaikuntha Loka and started serving Lord Krishna again. More precisely to Lord Sankarshan in this context of Vritrasur. And we will see it how. Then after that, actually what happened in between, Sukadeva Goswami said that after killing Vitrasur, that's we are entering chapter 13, killing Vitrasur, everyone was happy. All the devatas became happy because they got their own position back. But Indra was not happy. And then Parikshit Maharaj questioned, why did Lord Indra was not happy? So please describe it. I want to hear it. And I wish to hear it. So please describe this. Then Prabhupada actually mentions a very nice purport here. He says that a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana, although a Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava. So there are two culture, because someone's taken birth in the Brahminical family, he claims to be a Brahmana, but he might not be a Vaishnava. Prabhupada quotes this from Padma Purana. He says one may be a Brahmana in terms of his culture, his family, and may be expert in Vedic knowledge, mantra, tantra, and visharadha, but he may not be a Vaishnava and he cannot be a Guru. This means that an ordinary expert Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava, but on the other hand, a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. And a millionaire, he gives an example, a millionaire may very easily possess hundreds and thousands of dollars, but a person with hundreds and thousands of dollars is not necessarily a millionaire. So Bitrasur was perfect Vaishnava. He was completely surrendered to Lord Vishnu, or Vaishnavas are sometimes also called the worshipper of Vishnu is Vaishnavas. So therefore, he was also a Brahmana. And by killing and Indra, while he was discussing, we've seen even they were discussing about Lord Vishnu while they are fighting, and then by the talk, Indra could completely understand that he is a great Vaishnava, and he didn't wanted to kill Indra, but the Devatas, he was actually hesitating to kill Vitrasur, but the Devatas, they insisted him, said, we will do fire sacrifice and we will regain your all sinful activities. Also, we will please Lord Vishnu, and just by pleasing Lord Vishnu, all the sins goes away. What you are talking about is just a sin of killing a demon. So don't worry about that. And by insisting on the Devatas, Indra, uh, actually he killed at the end, actually it was a providence of Lord Vishnu that Vitrasur was actually needs to be killed by Indra. And then they say that uh, Prabhupada writes here that the Hare Krishna movement offers everyone to chant and be purified. And actually Indra was thinking why it, basically he said, in previously he has killed Vishwarupa, and he got sin, and those sins are being divided into other things. We discussed earlier that the sins, 25% was taken by Mother Earth, 25% was taken by woman, 25% was taken by the land, sorry, the tree, and 25% of the water. And we discussed about, by taking these sinful reactions of Indra, what these other four things, woman, land, tree, and water, they get some benefits, boon, as well as they need to repay the sin as well. And right now he thinks that I have done that, killing Vishwarupa, maybe in a more, without proper knowledge. But right now I know properly, and if I kill Vitrasur, I will acquire more sinful activities or more sinful reactions. Understanding comes from here that even the devatas like Indras, they also get sinful reactions. And what to speak about we people, right? We are, and they are the positions they get from the, like, all the devatas, they are exalted devotees of Lord Vishnu, and they are being given in charge to do service, and what we are, that's why we should be very cautious of doing sinful activities. And then anyway, by the providence of all devatas and by the planning of Vishnu, so he's somehow killed, and he acquired a very, very huge sin actually. And Prabhupada writes in the purport here that uh, though the devatas are saying that we will do sacrifice and will clean up your sins, so that is not a proper way. That's not a good thing for us. It means, like, maybe sometimes people think, okay, let me chant the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I know very well that by chanting this Mahamantra properly, all my sin will be vanquished. And let me do sin again. That is not a good understanding. It is one of the aparadha. There are 10 aparadha, and one of those is a nama baled yashahi papa buddhir. So by thinking that, okay, if I chant the holy name and I can do papa, I can do sin, there is no issue with that. That's a wrong understanding. And it's the holy name is not to neutralize our sinful activities. And Prabhupada says, if someone, maybe once or twice he may be forgiven, but if someone's repeatedly and intentionally, important thing is that intentionally commits sins while chanting the holy name, he is the most condemned. And Prabhupada says that Hare Krishna movement offers everyone in this world a chance to be purified, and regardless of birth, family, and as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra dedicatedly, with full faith, we purify ourselves. And rather than keeping a mind that, okay, if I let me chant and do sin, that's not a good idea. But we chant with faith that it will purify us. And then Prabhupada says that Indra was thinking the same thing, that he already killed one, maybe without knowing properly, and now he knew very well. So definitely he's going to get a greater sin or more sinful activity reactions from that. And by killing Vitrasur, he acquired Brahmahatya sin. And because it was knowingly he killed, so this time the sin was also very greater. And the sin personified, there is sin personified, right? She was a woman, and it's been said that she is Chandala, or very lowest woman. She, as soon as came before Indra and started chasing Indra, and Indra then started fleeing here and there. And Siva is explained that her body was smelling very, very, fishy odor, and her body and garments were covered with blood, and he was breathing very odd odors as well. And just by her coming, all the streets became polluted, and they all started smelling very bad. And she started yelling at Indra, wait, where are you going, wait. But somehow or other, Indra started fleeing here and there, and he somehow managed to enter into a Manasa Sarovar lake. And when inside Manas Sarovar lake, there are many lotus stems, and in one of those lotus stems, he entered within the lotus stem. Just imagine, in the small lotus stem, he entered, and he became invisible from there. So he hid himself in that, and I said that this Manas Sarovar lake is actually was protected by goddesses of fortune, Mother Lakshmi. That's why sin personified could not enter there. And Indra, he lived there for thousands of years. And by that, also by the influence of Rudra, his sin becomes divinized, and after thousand years, he regained his own position. He regained his own planet, his own positions. Also, some horse sacrifices being done in between that. And meanwhile, for thousands of years, there is a person named as Nahusha. He was ruling the heavenly kingdom. And after that, in this chapter, Sukadeva Goswami concludes a very nice, always called as Falashruti, or the benefit of chanting this story, or narrating this story to someone, or hearing this story. He says, in this very great narrative, there is a glorification of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. There are statements about the of devotional service, exaltness or devotional service. There are descriptions of devotees like Indra and Vritrasur. So though Vritrasur was a demon, but he was actually a devotee. And there are statements about King Indra's release from sinful life, and about his victory in fighting the demons. And he continues, by understanding this incident, one is relieved of all sinful reactions, and therefore one The learned are always advised to read this narration again and again. If one does so, and one will be become expert in all the activities of his senses, his opulences, and will increase, and his reputation will become widespread, and one will also be relieved of all sinful reactions. He will conquer all his enemies, and the duration of his life will also increase. Because this narration is auspicious in all respects, learned scholar regularly hear and repeat it on every occasion. So this is discussing about Vitrasur, and and then uh, we all know that he was a demon. How can he become a devotee or even a great devotee? That even in a battlefield, instead of killing his enemy, he was remembering Lord Vishnu's, and he's saying to his enemy that, okay, kill me. I'm now fully situated in the state of being remembering Lord Krishna, like Vishnu Deva. When he was about to leave his body, he said that, okay, my eyes are fully focused on Krishna's. Now I am seeing Krishna's, so it's a very good time to give up my body. And he was waiting for that incidents to happen, and he could see Krishna's, he could meditate Krishna, and then he left his body. In a similar way, Vitrasur was fully meditated on Krishna and left his body as well. But Parikshit Maharaj asked a question to Sukdev Goswami. It might comes to all of us as well. Like, general demons are in mode of passion and ignorance. How did Vitrasur have attained such an exalted love for Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna? How does it happen? And then Prabhupada writes in the purport very nicely, quoting a verse from 7th chapter. He says, persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful reactions or actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. That's what Krishna says, that anyone who is free from sinful actions or reactions and who are free from duality, there is no enviousness in that, in those, and those who have acted piously in many previous lives, they engage in my devotional service, they engage in lotus feet of Lord Krishna. How? With full determination. And since Vitrasur was among demons, Maharaj Parikshit was possible to have become such an exalted devotee. And then uh, Parikshit says that there are many atoms, ocean. There are so, and among those very few are human beings. So we
Prabhuji,
see.
Prabhuji, your connection is breaking,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let's see it. Okay, thank you. I'll keep a note. Let's see. Is it okay now? Is it
Yes, for now, yes.
okay? So, Parikshit Maharaj says that there are many living entities as atoms, and among these living entities, a very few are human beings. We see in this our surrounding, we see so many plants, we see so many animals, we see animals in underwater, on the land, flying, birds, aquatics, many things, and human beings are very few. And also among them, very few are interested in following religious principle. So first stage is karma kanda, religious principles, very few people follow it. And out of many persons who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation from the material world. So there are four things normally: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And 99% of people, they are engaged in dharma, artha, and kama. So they do some religious activities, they acquire pious reactions, and they engage in sense gratification. When they acquire, by doing some pious activity, they engage themselves in kama. Either they get economic development, artha, or they hanker for money and other things, or they engage themselves in sense gratification. But liberation is rare. Right. He told about there are many peoples, many living entities as atoms, and out of those, very few are human being, and out of few human being, there are very few who actually follow religious principles, and out of those who follow religious principles, there are very few who seek for desire for liberation. And again, continues. It doesn't just end here. He says, among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation and giving up material attachment to society, friends, love, country, home, wife, and children. It is very rare. And it's not that the end it. He continues more. Professor Mara says, and among many thousands of such liberated persons, one who can understand true meaning of liberation is very rare. So, understanding the true meaning of liberation, maybe you can say a point, and the outer circle is thousands of liberated persons, and outer of that is people following religious activity, and outer cell of that is basically uh, human being, and outer of that is all living entities. Just imagine how rare it is. The rarest of everything is understanding the true meaning of liberation. And that he says, then how could a demon be like that? And I'll narrate. This is the verse. He says, O great says, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberations, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayana or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. And how could such a demon become a greatly Krishna consciousness or great devotee of Krishna? So please explain to me, and I am eager to hear it. And Sukadeva Goswami said, I'll speak to you the same history what I have heard from the mouths of Vyasudeva, Narad, and Devad, and please listen with attention. So again, Sukadeva Goswami gives us a very nice information that he is narrating the stories what he heard from his guru and from great sanity persons, and that is how uh, the importance of a guru parampara comes here. That the the Vedic knowledge that comes from the spiritual master to his disciples, and this follows ahead of that. Right? And then he starts explaining uh, the story of what he has heard from these great exalted personalities. He says, once there was a king named Chitraketu, and Chitraketu ruled the entire earth, and earth produces all the necessity of life. We remember, in Priyabharat Maharaj, yes, in that story, that Mother Earth, he she stopped giving all the necessity items, and that's how here he says Chitraketu Maharaj was ruling very nicely. That Mother Earth was providing all the necessities things in our life, and actually, if you see, nature provides us everything. And Prabhupada many times says that the essential thing of a person we cannot find or we cannot manufacture in factories. We cannot manufacture in factories water. We cannot manufacture air. We cannot manufacture earth to live. Even though we can build so many big bungalows, we use the Mother Nature's material to make it. But we can't say it's just made by our own. We plot it, but we get it from Mother Nature only. And that's how, while in the providence of Chitraketu, everything was produced very very nicely, and he had 10 million wives, and and this is what he explains why he had 10 million wives. So it might be confusing to everyone that why he had 10 million of wives. The reason is he wanted to have a children. For the desire of children, it's not for the desire of sense enjoyment, it's for the desire to have a children. But by his own providence, by his own whatever it may be, he could not have any children. So that's why he had so many wives. And even from that, he could not have any child. And he had everything, very good education, very good health, very good wealth. Still, he was always in full of anxiety because he did not have a son. And the Shastra explained that son is one who actually, uh, when the father left his body, he does all this, things, and pindadan and other rituals are being performed by the son. That is why he was willing to have his son. And once happened, a great powerful sage named as Angira Muni, and he came to place of Chitraketu. And Chitraketu again, he was very sensitive person as well. He received King, sage Angira very nicely, and by anyway he was very king, so he received as much as he could do, by all his respect and other things. And the says Angira was very much satisfied with his humility and hospitality, and he said, are you keeping well in taking care of the kingdom and others? So are you doing well everything? Are your kingdom is all good? Are the people are satisfied? But I see that you seems to be in anxiety, so is everything okay? Because anyway they are sages, so he could see his by his face, are you still something missing in your life? What is that? And or are you being caused by anyone else, or is there not happy in your surroundings anyone, because that makes you anxiety? The king replied very humbly that uh, he glorified the sages, and he says, you know everything. However, yes, I'm in anxiety, and as I do not have any son, so that's my anxiety, that I do not have any son. So there is no one there to deliver us from hellish conditions. So I need someone who can deliver us from all these conditions. And then the sages actually he said, okay, and we will do some tapasya. And he made a sacrifice by offering obeisance, and then he got a sweet rice, ball of sweet rice, that was being given to his queen. And one of his the queen names was Kritadyutu. And then the sage told that he give, when the Kritadyutu will have this sweet rice, she will give you a son. And as also there was a hint given by the sage. He told that this son will cause you both happy or jubilation, as well as distress or lamentation. And says left from there, though it was a very confusing. Okay, and he thought, uh, king thought, okay, yes, he may give me some sorrow as well as happy, but it's good to have him. But the actual essence, what about this jubilation and lamentation, was understood by Chitraketu later on. What was that? So this means called as harsha and shoka at the same time. This child will give you harsha, means happiness, also shoka is lamentation. And because of his great jubilation, Prabhupada says he could not actually understand the statement of the sage Angira, and he accepted it to mean that there would be certainly be jubilation because of the birth of his son, but that he would be the king's only son, and being very proud of his great wealth and empire, uh, he would not obey him properly. He might not be an obedient to the father, and that's why I might get soka or lamentation from it. But he said it doesn't matter if he is not very obedient to me. That's fine. And eventually, Kritadyuti begot a son, and a name is Skanda or Kartikeya. Both are his name. And so very very he was king, and he got a son now, after so much desire of having a son. And there's a huge birth ceremony being celebrated, and there was a lots of brahmanas being invited, and they have been given charity as much as they could. And day by day the king was actually becoming very much attached to the son, and also to the mother. And by seeing that, the other, you know 10th millions wives minus one others, they actually became more a bit agitated, and become say they thought, okay, looks like king is now favoring only Kritadyuti because she begot children and begot the child. And attraction towards other wives gradually started losing, and they thought, okay, otherwise other wives, they started feeling neglected from the husband, from the king. And they all they all became agitated, and they made a plan, and they actually started condemning that, that in NVM lamented that finally they planned to kill the son. They thought that, okay, only because of this son, till now everything was all good. We are being always respected by the king and never neglected. Just because the son has came and we are being neglected, so let's kill the son. And he was a small child, and they planned to kill the son by giving poison. And everyone in the palace started lamenting. And the king said, to God, since he actually claiming to God, he says, you have cut the bonds of affection that Campbell, a parent, raised his child, and you appear inexperienced and unintelligent. So he started cursing to God. You seems to be very inexperienced and unintelligent. I have just got a son, and I haven't been so much affection towards him as well, but still you took it. And even with his wife, they all started lamenting for the son, and the other wives who had planned to kill the son, they also, just to show, they started lamenting as well. And as the king and the queen all lamented, all the male and female followers joined them in lamenting. And because of a sudden accident, the small child, all the citizens of the kingdom were also almost unconscious, and all are lamenting. The whole kingdom started actually crying about that. And the great sage Angira, he actually understood that the king was almost dead in the ocean of lamentation, and he went there with Narada Rishi. So Narada Rishi and Angira Muni, they both came in the place where they were lamenting. And then uh, Angira Rishi and Narada Muni, they consoled Chitraketu by saying that, no, the spiritual significance of our life. They said, "O king, what relationships does the dead body for which you are lamenting have with you? What relationship do you have with him? And you may say that you are now related as a father and son, but do you think that this relation existed before? And do you truly existed now? And will it continue in the future?" So that's a question, very, very relevant questions asked by being asked by these rishis to Chitraketu, that do you think this relationship is always ever existing, and was it earlier there, or will it continue? And like they gave an example how it happens, the relationship comes. He said, like a small particles of sand sometimes come together and again get separated due to the force of waves, so is the living entities comes together and separate by the force of time. So we have seen many times when you go to any lock here, we see the sands, they are coming with the waves and they get separated, and sometimes they become unite and then separate. That the same way this living entity, or we, our relationship, it comes and goes by the force of time, and no one can avoid it. And again, like they give other example as well, saying that sometimes the seed grow as a plant and sometimes does not. So when we plant, we provide many seeds, but some seeds grow, some seed does not grow. And the example says is, like some can begot children, or the living entities, some can begot children, and sometimes not all. It's all by the will of Lord. And our current situations and relationships are temporary, although it's not false. So the relationship what we have, it's temporary but not false. Sometimes people say this the earth is, jagat mithya. This not earth is not false. It's there, it's true, but it's temporary. So our relationship with everyone, it is there, it's not false, it's there, but it is temporary. And then Prabhupada writes in a purport saying that it's just like a dream. A dream does not exist before one falls asleep, and nor does it continue after one awakens. So in a similar way, the period of dreaming existed between the two, once before sleeping and before after. Sorry, it was existed before sleeping and it after awakening, and therefore it is false in the sense that it is impermanent. Similarly, the entire material creation, including our own creation and those of others, is impermanent, but it exists. And then he says, as far as one seed, another seed is from one seed, another seed is generated, O king. So from one body, the body of a father, and through the another body of a mother, a third body is generated, that is the body of a son. And as the element of the metal body are eternal, elements of the metal body are eternal, the living entity who appears through these metal elements is also eternal, that is the soul is eternal. And Sukadeva Goswami continues saying that thus by the instructions of Narada and Angira, King Chitraketu became a bit hopeful. And he was hopeless. He became some hopeful by the instructions of Angira and Chitraketu. And with the knowledge, Chitraketu says, you are liberated personalities, and not all many liberated personalities roam around to enlighten the people who are in ignorance. And we have seen the same thing, that the Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthana, the devotees, they actually roam around here and there, and the great personalities, to enlighten the uh, people who are in actually in ignorance. And that is how Chitraketu says here that you have come to enlighten me as well. And so because you are great personalities, you can give me real knowledge. And so please, in a sight, please give me the torch of knowledge to save me. And I am foolish like a pig or dog because of the darkness of ignorance. So Prabhupada says this is the proper way to receive knowledge. And one must submit oneself at the lotus feet of great personalities who can actually deliver transcendental knowledge. And it is therefore said, Tashmat Gurum Prapadante Jigyasu Se Uttamam. So take shelter of spiritual master and Jigyasu, inquire him about the ultimate goal. And the highest goal and benefit of life must approach, to understand this highest goal and benefit of life, one must approach to a bona fide spiritual master and surrender unto him. And the Prabhupada saying that one should approach a guru to understand the transcendental science of spiritual life, not for getting some material opulences. And by saying that, they says, my dear king, you are now advanced devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you to be absorbed in lamentation for the loss of something material is unsuitable for a person like you. So therefore, you have both come to we both came to relieve you from this false lamentation, and which is due to your being merged in the darkness of illusion or darkness of ignorance. So for those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge, to be affected by material loss and gain is not at all desirable. And therefore this body is the source of all miseries. And by saying that, uh, so they conclude saying that, no, very become very careful to consider the position of atma, the position of the soul which reside in the body. Take care of that. That is much more important. And even they explain very well that the we'll see it in next canto as well. The body is still lying, the body is still there, but something is gone which is not speaking. Because of that, the body is not speaking, not moving, not answering to you. And we need to consider, uh, we all need to give the importance for that, and that is atma. And Narad Muni said that please accept a mantra and from me, and which is most auspicious, and by this you can see Lord face to face in 7 nights. And also you will be free from all illusion. So they enlighten Angira Muni and Narada Muni, they enlighten Chitraketu and others, and they give a mantra uh, to Chitraketu, saying that by chanting this in 7 nights, you can see Lord face to face, and you will get instruction from Lord Krishna what to do next. and also all of your illusion will be vanquished by that, by seeing Krishna's face to face. So that's how we end chapter 15 today, and we'll continue from 16 tomorrow, 16, 17, 18, 19. There are 4 more chapters. Hopefully by tomorrow or maybe day after tomorrow we will be able to conclude Canto 6, and we'll start Canto 7 after that. And so there are 2 things. First is the last week question, that why or how do Lord Indra and they sometimes do mistakes, and sometimes the demons are, they flew away from the demons. So I haven't got proper answer, exact answer, but what I have heard from the devotees and got it is, very first learning, they say that we should be much aware of not offending either Indra or Brahma when they do this kind of work or activities. And these are just for our learnings, that how Maya is strong, and how we can be dragged into sinful activities and we can get sinful reactions. Even Indra, by doing this, he get sins. By killing his spiritual master, he gets sin. By killing Vritrasur, he gets sin, and he has to repay it as well. However, those are exalted devotees, they revive their position very quickly. But for us, we are conditioned, and it becomes very difficult for us to revive our positions. So that is why we should be very cautious not to offend them, and just take them as a learning, and not to repeat those things in our life. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, as was a providence by Lord Krishna's planning to relieve Vitrasur from this material world, and he wanted to revive him back in this Vaikuntha Loka. That is why the plan was made, so that Indra could kill eventually, by the power of Krishna, to Vitrasur, and Vitrasur can get liberated again, go back to his godhead. Uh, Maybe it's all is Krishna's plan. So that was the answer which I got. And one more thing is I wanted to do is, we have already discussed earlier that one day we will be sometime discussing about the practical applications of these teachings, and we might need at least a bit 1 hour or 1 hour 15 hour 1 and 15 someday. So I'll give on to all you to decide if it is all okay. One day a week, we'll extend it a bit more, or either we can start early, maybe 7:30 or 7, and we'll discuss for nearly at mm, not more than 1 hour 15 minutes. So it's all to, because we need to some practical applications as well. We need to uh, take it in our life. How can we progress ahead for take this understanding and practice it in a well manner way, right? So that's from me. Any questions from today's? Please let me know. Okay, if no questions, then all okay, and all good. So Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
See you
Krishna.
tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu.